And what would we do without Pirates of the Caribbean music? Probably just have a bunch of blank noise for you while we try to introduce some players. We are on Daybreak. It is the second series of this Group G round of 32 action from the Senate StarCraft League. And of course, TVZ. So we've got some player introduction for you. We'll get right into it. Spawning in the top right-hand corner, representing nobody but his fine self. He's teamless, right? Yeah, he is teamless. It is your Red Terran, Seryph.
And his opponent down in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, which is Daybreak, of course. Also teamless, representing himself, it is the purple Zerg, Zode.
Is it Zode or Zode?
I don't know, but I've been learning German, so I've been trying to force myself to pronounce E's at the end of it. Pronounce it Zode in keeping with that. And
yes,
if we're told otherwise, I'm going to ignore their advice and just keep on doing it.
All right. Regardless of whether he wanted to now, he is now Zode. So Zode going for hatch first into spawning pool. And we are, of course, on Daybreak, so a bit of a distance, not too great compared to other maps. But for the Dream Pool, this is a pretty far spawn. I think the only one that really that beats the hell out of it would be Akalon Wastes or Shakur's Plateau if you have a cross spawn.
Yeah, probably Daybreak. Daybreak.
Do you know the actual distances?
No, I don't know the exact.
I don't know the exact.
I'm sure we can find them online, but maybe not right now. And yeah, the Reaper coming into the natural at a pretty normal time. Might actually catch a drone here. Not quite. Still on pretty low health. Maybe he'll be able to get a chance to come back for it. But with 6 lings made, Zode is going to try and send 2 of these around to pick off this SCV that's building the command center. But Seryph very smartly has gone for a 2 Reaper opening and left one of them at home to deal with that. So these 2 lings shouldn't have any joy in their endeavor there.
I like that idea. That's something you don't actually see a lot. As we saw in the first TV series, all 3 Reapers were joining in on the action early and often, coming from Sead Samea in his series. But we do have Seryph is, of course, leaving his Reaper back home, and right now they're just actually getting in on the action. I think are there actually 2 Reapers? No, it's just the one, and then SCV was coming down. So that Reaper is going to go ahead and deny any sort of pressure, and then that is a 3rd early command center go down before the factory is finished. So this is some bomber-esque macro that we're about to see come out of Seryph. And he's looking to take this into the mid game. Of course, he's not going to be doing any sort of early Hellbat Marauder pushes. You can't do it. It's not really feasible off of what he's going for right now. So instead, he's just going to be pushing out the Hellions and looking to take map control and deny any sort of lings going crazy across the map. And I think we do not actually have ling speed finished or on the way as of yet. Nope. And we're going right into 3 hatch. So Zode is looking to be fairly content with doing the same thing too. Going right into the macro.
Yeah, Zode, in fact, only just taking his gases, going for double gas on the natural. It's slightly unusual to see a gasless opening, and the reason being that his speed will be so much later, so he'll have quite a hard time securing this third base against Hellions, against Reapers. So we'll see if he sends any queens to sort of slowly waddle their way to his third base to save it, or whether he just sort of lets it take some damage. And it's going to be taking quite a lot of damage from those 2 Reapers, 2 Hellions. But yeah, there we go. 3 queens moving down from the natural, and that should be enough to drive these Terran units away. And yeah, Seryph, Zode hasn't actually seen that 3rd command center yet, I don't believe. No, that Overlord's running around trying to scout something. He knows there's something there, but he can't quite find it. And Zode drives the Terran units away from his hatchery, which is bleeding a little bit, but alive, and that's all that matters in the end.
Yeah, and we've got more Hellions entering the field, but I don't think he's going to produce anymore. I think he's just going to have 4 Hellions. Or no, he's got 6 Hellions on the field. So he's just going with the standard 6, as we talked about earlier. Seems to be the number that everyone goes for these days. His stim's about to finish up. He is, of course, getting a reactor on his next factory. It'll probably transfer a barracks onto that. A lot of lings being made, and we're about to have +1 on the way for our Zerg player, as well as speed is about to finish up. But with 6 Hellions, and if you take your fights off creep, he'll be able to make them live a long time, as he's going to deny some creep spread here. which is really good. And those 3 queens are going to be a little out of position now. I think this is if Seryph can smell it. There's what other queens are at the natural right now. He's going to have to pull Lings over here to defend. And if those Hellions are microed well, they can get into nice little nooks and crannies, and they can pretty substantially eliminate a ton of Lings. As we've all seen, Hellions literally roast Zerg. It's not a match made in heaven.
Yeah, but they're not really going to get the opportunity to right now, as those Lings sneak past them and start making straight for the natural of Seryph. And I believe that is a gap in the wall between the orbital command and the Spidey Depot. So these Lings are going to get straight in. He doesn't raise the Spidey Depot either. Oh, no.
Seryph, why? Terran tears coming out now. He does have stim finished, but I mean, it almost brings the end quicker for that Marine. Yeah, what does he have? He does have more units on the way. He's going to have to use these SCVs, and that's not too bad. I don't think he lost too many units from that. Of course, he's going to have to defend with a Marauder and a bunch of SCVs, bringing his Hellions all the way home. In the end, maybe not necessarily the best response Zode could have gotten out of that. He split his Lings up. Would you have liked to seen him take his Lings in one big cluster and move them into the main at that one?
No, I think splitting his Lings up was the right call. I think maybe like 2 or 3 more Lings going to the main could have been a good idea, because as it was, the Lings in the main were small enough in number, or few enough in number, to be cleaned up by just the SCVs. And it would have been nice to see a couple more Lings just so they could do a bit more damage to the SCVs before being cleaned up. We see a big swell of 20 Lings come out, because he needs to have some SCVs. So he needs to have some Lings to turn into Banelings if and when Seryph decides to push out. But it looks like Seryph is just going to run out to push his natural down. Unfortunately for Zode, anyway, just before that Overlord can actually spread any creeps denial.
Yeah, and that's so annoying if creepers spread at your third. That's one of the things, if you're a Terran, it's just like, you go to take out your third and you haven't scanned, you haven't scouted your expansions, and then you find an Overlord laying creep. It's just, that's like, it seems like it takes way longer than it actually does to clear up creep. Because in game you're like trying to land it, you're just smashing L, but you need to be doing other things. So he does have these Hellions on patrol. A bunch of Lings are going to come out, and they're going to get the surround. I don't know if that was a good idea, leaving those Hellions on patrol right outside of the creep, because it made sure that the Hellions got total, or the Lings got total surface area on those Hellions, able to gather, gobble them all up, and that's a pretty big win there, because you can use Hellions. We saw Panda Prime yesterday really putting Hellions to good use, and losing that many that quickly is never a good thing. As these Lings make their way into the third of Seryph, he's going to get caught in a little bit of a choke point here, and he's going to have to pull his back, but there are more Lings at the natural.
Yeah, there are, and they're making their way into the natural, into the main base. There's Lings all over the place right now, and this is nice. There's a lot more Lings in the main right now there, and with the upgrades, the SCVs really can't fight that, especially with that positioning. Yeah, SCVs are going to fight it in the end, but a lot of them do go down first. And, another couple of SCVs. That really hurts. Over at the third, much better defended. There's a bunker and some units behind that, so the Lings really aren't going to be able to get that much done there. But all the same, Zode has just been continually throwing Lings at his enemy, and he's about to hit 2-2. Seryph, no sign of his 2-2 research. Does he have an armory? He does have an armory, so he can start that, but Zode is going to be keeping up that Zerg upgrade advantage, as is tradition. Right up until Terran hits 3-3, basically.
Yeah, and if you're going to be, making cost-efficient trades as a Zerg at this point in the game, Zode has not thrown any gas at Seryph. He's just thrown Lings, if I recall correctly. I don't think he's thrown any Banelings. No. So that's like the perfect trade. A Zerg will take that all day long. Seryph does have a decent amount of SCVs for 3 bases, but he doesn't have his SCVs spread out. He only has 9 mineral line workers at his main. And now he's going to go ahead and pull some from this third, and I'm guessing he's going to go throw those over onto his main. He's going to have throw a little Marine drop around here, see if he can maybe see if there's a 4th already taken. Zode going into that typical Zerg, just going to sit back, macro, get his creep spread good, and mass a lot of Lings here on the map. And the Overlord spread is just good enough to see that there's a drop coming in. If you go ahead and see, of course, that drop is going to get absolutely denied. Only losing 1 Marine, but still not getting done. I think what that drop meant it needed to get done.
Yeah, completely denied. And Zode is getting a really fast hive as well behind this, because he really hasn't faced any pressure. He's got a lot of gas that he just got like a few safety banelings, and there's a drop in the main, but it's been reduced down to like 2 Marines, and the Mutas aren't going to have any trouble cleaning this up. Should get the medevac as well, unless Seryph is paying attention to boost away. At the same time, dropping the third. Again, not that much going to be done. Ooh, Queen takes out the medevac as well. Very nice.
Yeah, so you want to keep your medevacs alive because you want to, of course. Yeah. I mean, that's an expensive unit. I mean, it's kind of stupid to say you want to keep your medevacs alive, but if you're gonna be losing units in drops, abandon your Marines for your medevacs, because that's what's going to provide your army the staying power once you do take an engagement. And Seryph has to take an engagement at this point. Like, he can't let Zode do his thing. Like, he can't let a Zerg player sit back and relax. If you're going mech, you might be able to. Like, if you're going for late game composition into Mass Raven, like Sensor Tower, Siege Tank, if you want to go right into that line of work, then by all means sit back and get your army in Turtle. But if you're going to go, Bio versus this, 3 bases at this point in the game is fine and dandy, but you have to do damage to your Zerg player. And he hasn't done any of that. And so there's a mass of Lings and Banelings and Mutas that are just coming right into the natural, and they're going to be able to mow down pretty much anything Seryph has.
Ooh, some good Widowmine hits, but one more needed to kill those Mutas, and the Banelings are just barreling forward, smashing through everything Seryph has right now, getting into the SCV line. The SCVs are going to get away, but the command center is not so lucky. And another couple Mutalists, another couple medevacs being picked up by Zode's Mutalist. And the medevacs, as you were saying earlier, they are the most important thing to keep alive, because Seryph has enough barracks to produce Marines, about 11 at a time right now, but he can only produce 2 medevacs at a time, so he's really, really limited, and he has to get a lot of those up to be able to do the multi-pronged harass and have enough to heal off the stims almost instantly.
Yeah, at this point in time, you need to be pulling that army left and right. You need to be multi-dropping and because you can't take a straight-up engagement, because even if you do kill the entire Zerg army, he's just going to remax instantly, laugh in your face, type lol into the keyboard, go get a sandwich, and then come back and watch his Banelings destroy your entire army. And so, you're going to have to split your army up, and of course, medevacs are a wonderful thing, and only 3 of them is not enough. You're going to be needing to do, multiple drops in a bunch of different areas, and I think we saw it was Bunny versus Slivko recently, and it might have been Fragbite Masters that I was watching. It was a really good example of how to do that. If you want to go ahead and watch a replay of how to do that really well. And so Seryph rather, is getting that in his head, he needs to do something, but one drop, the mobility of this Zerg army, the spread of the creep, and he's using it to take out overlords, this is actually not, it's doing worse than it was, benefiting him.
Yeah, and this is what a Zerg looks like when he hasn't really faced any pressure.
This is a happy, fat and happy Zerg, right?
He's been able to spend all his gas on getting up his 3-3, his hive, his adrenal glands. It's going to be finished by 21 minutes, and he's got so many Mutalisks. You have to force, as a Terran, you have to force Zerg to spend his gas on Banelings by constantly pressuring and constantly picking off small groups of Banelings with drops and with just that pressure on 3rd and 4th bases. And that hasn't happened, so Zode has this enormous upgrade advantage, this enormous Mutalist count that he's really, really able to threaten Seryph with and stop Seryph from getting his 4th base up. And Seryph's income is going to take a big hit with a lack of a 4th base pretty soon as his main starts to run out.
Yeah, and of course we see chitinous plating coming in for our Zerg players, so Ultras, of course, is the switch. And it's not necessarily a switch, it's more so a natural progression, of course. Yeah, we are going to see cracklings. I think they are on 3-3. As they come up this ramp, the Muramaj's burrow, they're going to need to get some good shots off. The Ling army does split decently well, but the initial Lings come through are down, and now the Banelings are coming through. Melton, a pretty good split from our Terran player, but he doesn't have enough in the end. You can have 50 Marines splitting 50 different ways, but if you have 150 Banelings and some Mutas following up, there's nothing you can really do about it. So these Mutas here at the end of the engagement, but they're unimpeded. Nothing else here to contest this, and it's looking like Zode with 199 supply to 104 at this stage of the game is, of course, in prime position to take game number 1 off of Daybreak.
Yeah, Zode sitting his Mutalist over, and there it is. On Overgrowth, as was prophesied, and our first player up in the top right-hand corner, spawning in as the purple Zerg. It is Zode.
Yeah, taking game one pretty handedly against his Terran opponent on Daybreak. So we're going to have to see a bit of better play coming out of our Terran player, and spawning in the bottom left. He is Season 2's finalist, your red Terran player, Seryph. Losing, of course, to our very own ASL's Saber before he went into what I would consider an early retirement.
Yeah, going into the custom serving, as is traditional for retired pro players. And there he is. But yeah, Zode opening up with a hatch first, and Seryph going for a Reaper. Will we see more? We just don't know.
Yeah, and he's going to go ahead and
that's like we know
off.
We'll see one more because there's one.
Oh yeah, there it just queued up right as you said that. So we are going to see more Reapers. And he did wall off fairly early. So it's interesting to see what the deal is with that. But of course, he needs to have the second supply depot fairly quickly if he's going to go ahead and keep producing units out of that barracks, as opposed to maybe going into reactor and factory, or like a fast expansion into the CC. Because if you get just one supply depot right into the CC and you're producing units and SCVs, it tends to get fairly close to an early supply luck, which is never good. So, of course, finishing your wall with that supply depot, always a good idea, as this Reaper from Seryph makes his way into the main, and hopefully he saw the pool shimmering. I don't know if he was able to, but, of course, when you see this, the spawning pool shimmering means that speed is on the way.
Yeah, did you see the gas? He didn't actually... Oh, no, he did see the gas, so he can count the gas, see 100's been mined, and obviously because there's no layer on the way, it's a pretty good tell that it's probably gone to speed either way, whether or not you see that spawning pool. But that's pretty nice.
And the number of lings is a tell as well. He's made a lot of lings, so why would you make, if you're going to make that many lings, typically you're also going to see speed.
Yeah, that is 8 lings. That's something I hadn't actually noticed. That's quite a commitment to lings early on in the game. And the Reaper's going to wisely start to make its way back across the map, because when speed does finish, Zode is going to be able to send his lings across the map with speed and do pretty nicely, actually, especially against the 3 CC openers from Seryph. There's really very little in the way of units. There's only the 2 Reapers, and they aren't going to do very well against this many speedlings.
Yeah, I think Zode knew that this was coming. He knew the 3 CC, and of course the scout reconfirmed it. Is that supply depot going to get it up in time? Of course not. Here come the lings. Just 2 Reapers to try and target down these lings, and he's going to be able to split his forces and deny this 3rd CC. So this is a really a headache for Seryph. He does have 2 Hellions out now, and now if he starts to target these lings, he's going to, of course, be able to send this away. So it was really close that those Hellions are now just finally popping out. I think Seryph knows, of course, what he's doing and what situations he's getting himself into. Overgrowth, of course, is a smaller... it's a decent-sized map, but it's still... You've got a bit of a straight shot with nothing in between if you get your lings down in there. So, the 3CC, always risky, and if you're building it on the low ground as opposed to in your main, even that much riskier. Yeah,
I think it was a little unfortunate. I didn't get that much done there. I don't think he even killed any SCVs, just damaged their CC a bit. But maybe if he makes his opponent a little bit uncomfortable, and those speedings that he's got across the map can always just stand there and be threatening. And as soon as Seryph moves out with his Hellions, Zode can send the lings in and start threatening that hatch and doing all sorts of stuff. And as our observer is showing us, we do have a roach run on the way as well. So it's possible that Zode is going to do some kind of roach bane bust with this, but it could just be safety roaches. Could be going into roach hider. There's all sorts of things that roach one can be nowadays.
It's really good that Zode's changing up his playstyle, though, because you don't ever want to give, and as you're talking about, he left those lings there, and as soon as the Hellions are out on the field, he's going to go ahead and bring them back and see if he can pressure. I'm going to have to send his lings away, but as these Hellions try and make their way in and take off a queen, it's good, as I was talking about earlier, that we have a roach warren to come in, because Seryph is probably expecting ling bang muta, and of course when you see that many lings as they're attacking the 3rd again, typically they're going to transfer right into ling bang muta, but the roach switch with 12 roaches and the bandling nest, as you called on the way, probably a really good play from Zode to switch up his play, because you're keeping your opponent guessing. Seryph is definitely going to be playing slightly, as we see. He's like bringing his Hellions home to deal with these lings. He's not going to get the read on this, so these lings not only were able to, maybe pressure the third a little bit, he's bought time for this roach push. Seryph has no idea this is coming.
No, I think Seryph knows this is coming. He's got the bunkers up. He saw the third. He saw no drones on the third. He actually was building 2 bunkers, but I think he's cancelled one of them because he thinks he's held it off with the by getting rid of the lings. When you see no drones on the third, I think that's quite a big tell. So he knew this was coming, but I think he got a little bit overconfident in how he could hold it, and now these roaches have busted through the wall. They're going to bust this bunker down, and all the juicy marines inside it are going to be short work for these roaches' caustic spittle.
Yeah, I don't know. So you think he saw it? I don't think he really knew it was coming. Regardless, the roaches are in, and he's gonna have to lift both CCs and raise his supply depots, stranding one marine out there on a lonesome. The Marines are going to be able to do a little bit of damage here, but the supply depot goes down, and once that's done, all these lings are going to get in, the roachers are going to be able to get in on this. The SCVs are all gone, no mining at that second. This is looking from bad to worse. We do have 1 siege tank, but he's going to be damaging his own SCVs at the same time. Like, this is double the supply. Zode's in a really good position to take game number 2.
Yeah, he is looking pretty fine here, and the lings get through, they get on top of that siege tank. The SCVs aren't actually even... they're trying to repair it, but it's not quite enough. And Zode has done a lot of damage here. His opponent down to 20 SCVs. And we see droning behind this. Very heavy droning behind this. 13 drones about to finish up. So Zode is shooting way on up to about 60, 70 drones, which is a very comfortable number to be sitting at. Getting his lair up, getting his AVO chambers, and transitioning into a more standard style of play. Now... the advantage Seryph has is his upgrades. That's about the only thing he's got going for him at this point. The mules, they're good, but I don't think they're going to make up this much of a deficit in workers.
No, he's definitely behind. In the end, he lost a bunch of SCVs as we check the units. Lost tab.
21.
21 in the he's doubled essentially in supply. And the stagnant defense is static defense is coming home for Zode. So he's making, of course, a macro hatchet his main. So he's getting a really comfortable place in his little Zerg heart. He's not really worried about much. That bust working wonders, working exactly how I planned it. And at this point in the game, Seryph is, he's got to make a play. He's got to be risky, but he already has 3 CCs, so he's basically just going to, rebuild SCVs and see if he can get a strong enough, a decent enough army. And he's always going to be behind. He's got to have to make something happen here because Zode is going to take a 4th, not contested. He's basically fine and dandy to stay at home and not worry about anything that Seryph is doing. He's got his overlords, if you look, spread all across that mini-map. He's got both Zelnaga watchtowers. So if there's any drops coming, he knows exactly where they're going to be coming from. Like, he's got creep spread working his way. In order for Seryph to make something happen, he's going to have a miracle engagement or just totally outwit his opponent. And we do have a small dropship, little drop working its way up to the top left of the map. So he does have an idea that the fourth is there, but it's already been spotted by those overlords. So Army's probably going to be in a pretty decent position to handle this.
Yeah, but splitting those dropships up, I think, is quite a good decision because obviously just 16 supply worth of units can't really handle what Zode's got right now. And he's going to trade a little bit and then pick up. Actually, leaving one Marine to his death. How cruel. He's just going to really scout with these medevacs, I guess, and try and keep the army on Zode's side of the map. But Zode is having none of that. Zode's going to send it straight on over to the 3rd. But with the dropship coming in towards the 4th and the natural at the same time, he's going to lose quite a lot of drones for this decision. In the end, he has to bring his army back.
Unfortunately, yeah, and it's good. It's good that Seryph is capitalizing on this, but you have to do this and at the same time. And this is why it's so hard. Like, I'm not trying to be critical. That was really close. A really good pick from Seryph. He is multitasking really fantastically, and he's off creep now, so he can target these banelings. One more, get a little bit of hits, but he does have, of course, that medevac there, and he's going to pick up and go to safety. He is still pressuring, does lose the rest in his dropship. As I was saying, Seryph is doing a really good job at pressuring and multitasking with those drops, but he has to be doing more at home as well. He's been on 81 as a supply cap for some time, and he is producing units now, but he was supply blocked for a little bit there when he was dropping. And so, although he was doing damage and bringing Zode, between two minds of do I pressure or do I bring my army back, what do I do? Seryph wasn't getting it done back home. He wasn't going back and just making random supply depots and just, selecting SCVs and making supply depots. He didn't get his third down. Like, he's still on 2 base. And even though this is a massive Lings and they're all going to get, essentially shot by the siege tank, like, they're still alive. They're fine. This is a good number. He's busting through that natural wall. And there's, once he gets up that ramp and in on these SCVs, there's nothing here to really contest this. And Seryph's supply is plummeting.
Yeah, absolutely is. Zode is going to lose all of his forces, but he got a massive bailing hit on the SCVs, and Seryph is back down on 23 SCVs. And as you're saying, not doing anything behind this, that's the difference between a Masters Terran doing this and people like Flash, like Maru. When they're multitasking these drops impeccably, they're also going to be having impeccable macro behind it, and that's really the key to being the world's best Terran. It's
just if you want to be the world's best Terran, make sure you're making supply depots at home while you're hitting these drops.
Yeah. Make sure you're doing everything all the time.
Just control each Marine as if it were you.
Yeah, it's that easy. I don't see why more people don't do it.
We do have 2-2 just about to finish up for our Terran player. So he does have a bit of staying power with his army. Whatever army he does get out there, he is going to have some staying power with it. And if there was a thing that you were going to be ahead on in order to get a comeback going, it's going to be upgrades, right? So, like maybe, what things could he be ahead on? He could have more command centers and hatcheries, but lower supply. You can be behind or ahead on so many things, but upgrades is that, like, come from behind. You need longevity of your units, you need firepower of your units, and if you want to make drops work, having upgraded Marines is really the way to do it. We do have this force is going to get absolutely swallowed by these Lings unless they're picked up. No, he's just going to abandon them to their death. Where does Seryph go from here?
I don't know, it's tough. Seryph has to... His best defense is going to be a good offense by keeping his opponent on the other side of the map by doing a load of dropships. But Zode is actually pretty well defended against drops. He's got quite a lot of spore crawlers. He's got a few mutalisks around and about, and he's got just a really big mobile Lingbane mutar army. So it's going to be difficult for Seryph to force his opponent to not attack him. But he's doing a good job of it, and these few units that did make their way into the main are doing some damage. They've killed a few workers, and they're going to get a queen. But
yeah, we do have more Lings making their way
main again.
Across. And the main army is back home, but I think it's telling that we look at the supply 115 to 166, and you say, hey, Seryph's making his way back into the game because he was so far behind earlier.
Yeah.
So it's a bit telling that we're feeling better for Seryph now that he's at least working his supply that way up. He's just now established his third, getting a bit of a supply depot wall and some widow mines out here. But if you just look at the mini-map, there's this big blob of purple going left and right and basically wherever it goes. And of course that purple is made up of Lings, Banelings, and Mutas that are basically doing whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, they are. And right now what they want to do is clean up this drop, and they're just going to do it because Seryph can't do anything to stop them. And now there's another dropship coming up into the third, but Seryph, if he can just split off his mutalist or something to deal with that and send the Lings and Banes across the map to bust into the natural or something, that'd be really nice to see, because right now Zode is just running around his whole army, one side of the map, the other side of the map, trying to deal. Oh my god, he's going to get the fourth. I didn't realize this was on such low health. Great pickup there by Seryph.
Yeah, but he does have an extra fourth there on the low ground. It was in the end, it was a great pickoff, but and you can't downplay picking off a hatchery at any time. And dude, Seryph is actually doing the thing that is going to get him back in this game, and he's just dedicating himself to these drops. He's sending out a dropship. But Zode has gone ahead and said, you know what, ain't nobody got time for this shit. I'm just going to go ahead and pressure massive amounts of Lings, massive amounts of Banelings. Mutas coming in, Banelings busting down everything they run into. There is not enough of Seryph to hold this back. Of course, the downfall of splitting up your army into drops is the fact that you don't have an army to defend with once the main army comes across. I think Zode, smelling blood in the water, knew what he had to do in order to win this game. We do have that drop from Seryph going down at the extra fourth of Zode, but what is it going to do? Too little too late. That's an understatement of the century, as Zode probably going to march this army right up into that natural, bust down that door, and just continue on to game to a victory. Gonna go ahead and go into that winner's match versus our earlier Zerg player, Terran player rather, Seyan Samia.
Yeah, very likely the natural CC is going to get broken down by the Muclis here. And now Seryph's mining on one base, and barely at that. He's got 3 Marines across the other side of the map, but oh my god, there's Mutas on both sides of the map, and GG.